Today, the director of missions from Polk Association brought a great devotion, and I've twisted it around a little bit to meet my own kind of outline, but it was a great devotion just the way he gave it. And here's what I want to say to you today. This devotion can apply to preachers, and it can apply to members of the church. And it's found in Judges chapter 17 and 18. You may want to go back and read Judges chapter 17 and 18. Now, this Micah is not the Micah that we find a book of Micah. This Micah wasn't a great character. Actually, he stole from his mother and did some other bad things. But the title of the message would be Priest for Hire. And here are some warnings to preachers and pastors and staff members. Be careful of your calling. Be careful how you're called, because Micah was not a great guy for this priest to be hired by. And many times churches that call pastors are not the kind of church that you really ought to be answering the call to. Second, be careful of partiality. Be careful of partiality. If you're a preacher or a staff member, when there's personalities involved in the calling, as Micah wanted his personal priest, you're going to have an allegiance, you're going to have an obligation to those that called you, and that can cause partiality. Number three, watch out for expectations. You see, we need to understand the times. The times, according to Judges 17:6, is in those days there was no king in Israel, and every man did what was right in his own eyes. Micah did that. And we find partiality covered pretty well in Judges 18:4, where it says, he said to them, thus and so has Micah done to me, and he has hired me, and I have become his priest. You see the partiality that's going to be owed to Micah by this priest? Well, then the fourth lesson that we need to learn about expectations is that Micah said, now I know that the Lord will prosper me, seeing that I have a Levite as a priest. You see, sometimes our expectations for staff members and for preachers are greater than any could ever deliver. And sometimes the church doesn't provide the expectations that the staff member and the pastor has for that church. You've got to be careful of expectations. Number four, that was three. Don't move because it seems bigger or better. You see, this priest was taken away from Micah to go to a bigger community and to serve more people. But it wasn't a good group of people. And you got to be careful that you just think a move is a good move because it's bigger and better, pays more. Number five, don't be pressured or move out of fear. Many times pastors and staff members make bad decisions because they feel some pressure, or they feel that there's some danger or something to fear. If God placed you there, grow where you're planted, and don't move because of fear or pressure. Number six, beware of isolationism, that is turning inward. Staff members and preachers often turn inward when things aren't going the way they'd like, or they start to see the church as being only for the church's purposes and never see outside the walls of the church. And that's a very, very grave danger. Let me just say, too, there's a balance there. You can be so caught up in good works that you forget what you were really placed in your neighborhood for. You're to evangelize first in your own neighborhood, and then worry about the rest of the world. But we need to be sure that we don't turn inward. Now, what I saw in this particular devotion that really hit me hard and right between the eyes is this is the part for members of a church. Don't let your priest become your God. Let me say that again. Don't let your priest become your God. If your pastor and your staff members start to become your God, you'll start trusting in them instead of trusting in God. I talked to this particular director of missions, and he had served the same church for a number of years, and he said he still gets calls from church members saying, I don't know what to do. Things aren't the same without you being here. And they put their trust and their faith in him instead of in God. I fear that maybe after 27 years, there were a few of my members that may have gotten to that place where they placed me as their personal priest, and I became their God instead of God being their God. I certainly didn't do that intentionally, and I apologize to any that might have felt that way. But it's very important for you to realize that the pastor and the staff are not your God. Number two, your personal priest can be taken away, just as Micah's personal priest was taken away. He can be taken away by death. He can be taken away by a calling someplace else. He can be taken away by retirement, as I was. But Jesus, if he's your personal priest, that's number three. If Jesus is your personal priest, you have a holy priest. You have a priest that will support you and a priest that will hold you accountable. You have a priest that will never be taken away because nothing can separate you from his love. That was a great devotion that he gave today, and I want to give him all of the credit. Director of Missions for Polk Association, and his name is Phil Bailey, and it's very applicable for both preachers and for members. Your thought for the day. God bless you and have a great day.